It is the penultimate day of our Ultimate T20 discussions, and we are at the final category, the impact players. 12 of them to be whittled down from 6 at the end of this show. For these players, it is not necessarily about the overall statistics, but even more importantly, which of them has what it takes to consistently change the course of a game, either with bat, ball, in the field, or all of the above, and which of them fits perfectly with what is required to complete the panel's picks for our Ultimate T20 11. Here are the 12 shortlisted players: Shane Watson, Shahid Afridi, Dwayne Bravo, Andre Russell, Karen Pollard, Jos Buttler, Imad Wasim, Ben Stokes, Colin Munro, Yuvraj Singh, Daniel Vittori, and of course Darren Sammy. Lance and George, how tough do you think it will be to decide, first of all, on 6 and eventually on a final 3?
Tough. Very tough.
Yes,
very tough.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. We've already slotted in 8 of the players. Well, the panelists have slotted in 8 of their players from the 11, and there are some huge names to look at, including the likes of Andre Russell and Dwayne Bravo and Kieran Pollard, who are impact players coming from the Caribbean. And because of the very nature of the label that they've given impact players, these are star players. These are players that quite often make the headlines when they play T20 matches, whether it's internationals or the franchise matches.
I kind of get the sense, well, just for me, that this is like an MVP player, you know, somebody that, like, it's like your trump card that you just pull out when you feel like the game is moving away from you. Is that what we're thinking about?
You are correct, because either of these, any of these men on this list, they can change the game in the course of 1 over, a spell with the ball, or 6 deliveries to face with the bat, and they change the game in an instant. So you are correct.
All right. George,
well, the men who have been given the burden of reducing the impact players list from 12 to 6, we have regional cricket umpire Christopher Taylor, the Englishman David Brooke. He lectures at Oxford Business School, as well as Asian Film and a TV Academy in Delhi. So he's a well-rounded guy. And Vernon Springs we call him. He is from the Eastern Caribbean, and he of course is a cricket commentator and a man who knows his sport quite well. Based on what we've already seen selected, gentlemen, we need now to round out a balanced 11, notwithstanding what Ian Bishop said yesterday about Chris Taylor's plea for balance and what Mikey Holding said about cricket not being a scale. Yeah, there is still need for balance. So given the 8 we have already, the 3 to complement the 8 to make the 11, the T20 Ultimate 11, balanced and potent, that's what we're going after today. So may I start with you, David Brooke? Based on this long list, I want you to run the rule over this dirty dozen that we're going to pick 3 from.
Thank you, George. Evening, everyone. I mean, I quite like this definition of changing the course of a game, you know, an impact player that changes the course of the game. And I think in Mariah's introduction, you freed us from the stats this evening. Is that right? Because we're talking about people that can change the course of a game. They may not always do it, but they can do it, and they're capable of doing it. Now, I'm going to mention a name first of all. I know that Chris Taylor's not going to want him in. That's Ben Stokes, because he's going to say about the stats. He hasn't yet scored a T20 International 50. But herein lies the interesting issue for me tonight. Is Ben Stokes has shown himself to be very capable of changing the course of a match, a World Cup final, an Ashes Test. Would he be capable of doing that in T20 if he didn't play the other formats? Of course. It's just that he's so good at the others that his T20 record is not particularly good because it's not priority for him. But if it was the ultimate T20, and if T20 was the only game that existed, then Ben Stokes would, of course, be the ultimate choice.
Hear you on that? I'm going to leave Chris hanging and waiting to respond for that. Springs, this 12 impact players, are you seeing 12 names that are worthy of this inclusion at this point in the selection?
Well, you know, it is important to listen to David, who is making a case for what we would consider to be the redhead, Ben Stokes. Unfortunately, and he's rightly in what he said, Ben Stokes has not gone to the next level. So before Chris come after him in the T20 format, so on present England form for the ODI and for the Test, let's leave Ben Stokes, the redhead, in that category for the meantime. When we're talking about impact players and people who would have gone to the IPL, and around the world, we can't call Ben yet. Maybe if we're talking about the ODI team, maybe we can say, yes, he's in the contention. In terms of the 12, we're talking about impact. And so we want to be able to have someone who has a strong effect on a game. Somebody who is going to has influence, somebody who has impression. And so when we look to this 12, I can tell you straight off the top of my head, George, that I can find 6 people that can be able to put into that category that we can say, yes, consistently, based on their figures, based on their stats, based on their form, they're ready to be the impact players.
Christopher.
Yeah, I just want to commend David as being the ultimate patriot, trying really hard with his Englishman, Ben Stokes. But I agree with Vernon that Ben Stokes did have an impressive IPL. I can't remember if it was 2017, he was IPL player of the tournament. But over the case, if we're talking about a body of work over a career, I think Ben Stokes is not really matching up to the rest in the T20 category. My thought process when I think about impact are match winners. As you say, guys who can change the game, but guys who win matches. It might not be with the bat and the ball, it might be in the field. And I think that this is a category that the West Indians generally have dominated, and that is maybe why they have lifted 2 of the world titles and so on. A lot of game changers in there. And it's no surprise that the list is well populated with West Indians. I would expect when it comes down to it, they will probably come out slightly above a lot of the others. We discussed yesterday, though, George, Lance, and Mariah, that maybe the likes of Shakib Al Hassan should have been in the impact list. And I think it's quite unfair, actually, that he ends up not being in here, just to add some of that variety. And you think of another name who is in there, like Imad Wasim. And I think that Shakib Al Hassan, who is a very similar player in terms of left-arm bowling and offers you something down the other, is the better version of Imad Wasim. If you look at his career, he has accomplished a lot more in T20 cricket. I think he's a miss from this list. And I think another West Indian, Dwayne Smith, might feel a little bit grudged that he has not made this list as well. The second highest century scorer in T20 cricket for the West Indies. He has 5 centuries in this format. He has won titles in different franchises that he has played and so on, and certainly is an impact player. So I think those are 2 misses, but
yeah,
it's an interesting 12.
Yes. Chris, I'm reminded by my producer that you have the facility of a wild card, so no need to complain about who's not here. You always have the chance of including that person you believe has been hard done by their non-inclusion. All right, let's look at the first group, gentlemen, as we begin to do the comparison, the different qualities that the players bring to the table, and who is it that is best poised to change the course of a match, and not just change it as Chris just said, but change it and go on to win it for their team. So Shane Watson, Shahid Afridi, DJ Bravo, Darren Sammy, Joss Butler, and Daniel Vittori. I'll start with you, David. Talk to me about this list of 6.
Right, this list of 6. I mean, Shane Watson, I think he makes a compelling case, over the years, he has turned the course of many matches, ever reliable, got to be in the frame. I've also got in my from that list. I'm obviously going to make the case for Joss Butler because of the stats on this occasion and a T20 impact player. I'm not going. I've got a couple of the West Indies boys, of course, from the second group, but Dwayne Bravo, I'm not sure about him. I'd like to hear what the others have got to say. How many times has Dwayne Bravo actually changed the course of a match, rather than a little bit of contribution here and there? So I'm just going to throw that one out there.
Hold on, David. I know you didn't ask me, but are you talking about DJ Bravo at the T20 international level or DJ Bravo at the franchise level, who has turned the course of too many matches to remember, David?
I was thinking more of the international setup, but fair point, George, well made. All
right. Christopher, talk to me about this first 6, this group.
Yeah, I disagree heavily there with David. But as you said, David was talking about international. I've tried to stray from that because we want to look at the overall T20 effect. I think DJ Bravo is right up there, leading wicket taker in T20 cricket, 3 times the top in the IPL and the Caribbean Premier League. I mean, his stats are just there. I mean, in many numbers. But this 6 here, I like Shane Watson as well. I think he's produced a lot. You remember that first IPL where he was the leading run getter in that IPL as well. He's been player of the tournament on other occasions. Has taken over 200 wickets in T20 cricket, Shane Watson. So I think he's a man who certainly could be in the reckoning to go further. 6 centuries in T20 cricket. And when you look at the side that we have thus far, you notice that Lathis Malinga is the only pace bowling option. So we did talk about balance, and there was conversation around that. But that is something to think about as well in coming into these impact players. You probably would be looking for a player who can bowl a bit of pace, medium pace, and that works in the favour, I think, of Shane Watson, Andre Russell, Dwayne Bravo, and some of the others. Shahid Afridi, another top performer, 7th all-time in wickets in T20 cricket. Certainly an impact player. He is not as much with the bat, but certainly with the ball. He has created a lot of issues, 11 4-wicket hauls and more. So I think Shahid Afridi is a big game player in T20 cricket. Dan Vettori, for me, not really to the same level as the others. Excellent cricketer, top cricketer, but I think he's better in the longer versions. I think that Dan Vettori falls short for me, and he's a little bit one-sided, just like Josh Buttler. We already have a wicket keeper, so do we need Buttler? That's the question that you will have to answer.
Hear you on that. Springs, I'm coming to you last, and just before you go into your analysis of the 6 Springs, I wanted to look at the list of 6, the first group of 6 that we've put up. Who is the best fielder of this 6? Because Chris made a key point that you're not just looking with someone who can turn the game with a bat or ball, but someone who by fielding, by catching, running out, saving runs, who is the best fielder of this 6 in your estimation, Springs?
The champion man, DJ Bravo.
DJ Bravo. All right. Talk to me about the 6 now. Break them down for me.
Well, I listened to David, and he's making a case every time for his counterpart and someone from his country, his Englishman. So he feels that Josh Buttler should get in. Chris, I think, has hit the nail on the head. We have a wicketkeeper in MS Dhoni already. And yes, Josh Buttler has scored 40 half-centuries so far in the T20 format. He's rapidly improving, 5,782 runs. So we can say that he's one of the emerging players coming forward. But because we already have a wicketkeeper, I can't see him getting into the final 3, but I could maybe see him knocking a case and trying to see if he can get into the final 6. Daniel Vettori, off the boil, really didn't make a big impact. If you look at his Test career and his ODIs, it was much better than his T20 form. So we come down to DJ Bravo, and Chris was having, in fact, David was having a reserve on DJ Bravo. I think he was maybe just trying to see if he could ignite a conversation between Chris and myself. And he had to know that he's going to lose that battle. You're talking about somebody with 497 wickets, and to complement that, over 6,000 runs, right? Now we're talking about fielding, 222 catches, some real spectacular catches all around the world when it comes in terms of that format. If you look at Shane Watson, he has to be in the conversation. And why is he in the conversation? Because he's got 216 wickets, and to go with that, 51 half centuries and 6 centuries. And he's shown that he can come with the ball if push comes to shove, and he can bowl up front, and he can still come back on the back end, and then on the brink of that, he can still go and open the inning.
Springs, I'm gonna have to interrupt you here because we're up on the break, and Mariah's gonna send you to the break. And Mariah, I'm sure you're gonna give them some more CPL trivia as you go. The Amazon Warriors lost the first 2 editions of the CPL. I wonder what happened in year 3.
All right, so how many players from Group 1 do you think will make the cut? We expect the likes of Watson and Bravo to be there, but how about Shahid Afridi? How about the St. Lucian hero, Darren Sammy? Of course, we'll find out soon, and as we send you to the break, we give you another CPL fact.
So come support your team and live the 20 dream. Together we will rise above.
Hands up to the skies. Yeah, in the air, let's rise. Welcome to the Isles. Right in front of your eyes. Yeah, who taking the prize? 'Cause 2020 nice, yeah.
Come ride with me, and we will have a party.
Kyra Kieran Pollard, surely one of the favorites to make our Ultimate 11 T20 team. He's one of the 6 impact players we will be discussing in this segment. Remember, you can be part of the voting process by logging on to www.sportsmax.tv/ultimate and create your team. Your votes carry a 35% weighting. Well, let's get back to the discussion with Lance Whitaker and the crew. Lance, you take it away.
Yes, so let's get the panel's discussions now on the second group. Of course, they're trying to fill the last 3 spots in the Ultimate 11 T20, those positions of impact players. We've already had the opening batsmen decided at Gale and Warner, the batsmen 3 to 5 as AB de Villiers, Virat Kohli and MS Dhoni, the bowlers Rashid Khan, Sunil Narine and Lassit Malinga. Here's Group 2, Andre Russell, Kieran Pollard, Imad Wasim, Colin Munro, Yuvraj Singh, Ben Stokes. And let's get Chris Taylor to start off on his look at this 6 that we're looking at, second of the 2 groups.
I think that, thanks, Lance. I think the 2 West Indians here are above the rest in here. I mean, we discussed Andre Russell again, arguably the best finisher in the game. And even though a lot of persons have criticized his bowling, Andre Russell, if he was 40 is the general benchmark for wickets in a calendar year. 4 times has he gotten over 40 wickets in a year, Andre Russell. So, I mean, still at a strike rate of under 20, which is very impressive for somebody who comes on as a change bowler. 8 4-wicket hauls in his career. So, when you look at Andre Russell, he is all-round and arguably the best fielder in the game as well, both himself and Pollard. So, I think when you're looking at impact players and how they affect the different aspects of a cricket game, I think these 2 first guys cover most areas. Both handy with the ball, both game match winners, and very good with the bat as well. I think, as I spoke about Wasim already compared to Al Hassan, I think Wasim excellent with the left arm variation, so that is where he might come into the argument. I think Ben Stokes is a little bit short in the T20 category, hasn't shown enough with the ball, and I think based on what we have so far, the batting is sufficient. So I'm looking more for players that add that bowling variety. And I think that is where Ben Stokes and a couple others might miss out for me.
Yeah, all right. A lot of these players here as impact players, their performances based on numbers and also what they deliver on the field, pretty much well documented. Vernon Springer, your thoughts on some of these other players that we're looking at? We know that Russell is a match winner. Many people consider him the best T20 player in the world.
Yes, and if you're talking about somebody who can smash it, well, certainly he's got the figures to prove that. Over 5,000 runs, 2 centuries, 18 half centuries, and to complement that, he can bowl as quick as anyone on any day once he's fit. 291 wickets, you can't ask for anything else more impactful than that. I think Kieran Pollard has demonstrated over the years from 321 matches with over 10,000 T20 runs. That's a lot of runs, whether you like it or not. You would say maybe that he has maybe not scored as much half centuries, not half centuries, but the centuries as you would like. But he turns the game on his head, and is somebody really that you want in your team. And on any given day, whether it is in the field, whether it is even coming on and bowling his off cutters, so he's definitely a class above the other stuff. I want to support what Chris was saying, and it's something that we spoke about before. And I know that George said that Chris had a chance to put in his wild card to get Shakib Hassan inside as the impact player. That didn't work out, and so I think the other players, Yuvraj Singh, never really made the big impact that he would have. He never took off in the IPL. Not Shane Watson. We look around and see. We already spoke about Wasim already, and Ben Stokes. I know David would love to have his spot, yeah, but not this time around, David. Maybe the next 2 years, maybe he might make a positive impact on the T20.
Yeah. All right, David, it's your time. I hear Chris and Vernon speaking pretty disparagingly about Ben Stokes. I would remind them that at least 2 or 3 times for the IPL auction, he was the biggest priced signing, which does suggest that he does have the kind of impact, certainly from the standpoint of being attractive and people want them in their teams.
Well, exactly. I mean, here you've got the classic dilemma of, because Stokes has been so successful in other formats, T20 hasn't been his highest priority, whereas we're going to be rewarding those people perhaps who've focused almost with the religious devotion on the T20 format, either because they can't bowl more than 4 over spells, or because that's the forum that they're most comfortable in. So, if the other formats didn't exist, how good a T20 player would Ben Stokes be? Who knows? Who knows? But we have to deal with the facts. I guess we have to deal with reality. Yuvraj Singh, I think he's been dispensed with a little too quickly for my liking. Who can forget the 6 sixes off Stuart Broad? When Yuvraj Singh was at his best, I'm not talking about, that terrible, obviously came back from stomach cancer and the return. But before that, prior to his injury, prior to his illness, what a player at his best. And I think, Yuvraj Singh has impact in that India middle order in all formats, and T20 included, very, very strong. So I'd make the case for him. Obviously agreeing with on Andre Russell and Kyron Pollard. I'm trying to, when we talk about Russell as being one of the best fielders in the world, I'm trying to put out of my mind the image of him hobbling round at Edgbaston and Trent Bridge last summer in the World Cup. I'm trying to forget about that. And I know that when fit, I think that was the qualifier that we have to say with the big man. When fit, has to be great impact player.
Yeah, David, thanks a lot. And I'm not suggesting Ben Stokes should be selected in the 3 impact players, but I do believe that Chris and Vernon are shortchanging the Englishman a bit. He was the 2017 IPL Player of the Tournament. And I think the facts are that he has not played or emphasized the T20 game to a huge extent. And that's part of the reason why his T20 stats aren't as compelling as some of his other rivals. Mariah.
Thanks for that, Lance. Of course, some solid points, but we have to vote, and of course, only 6 can stay. Gentlemen, it's now time to narrow the short list of 12 to 6. Let the process begin. Chris Taylor, today you get to go first. Who will be your 6 that we move forward with?
Well, as I said, I think the West Indians are leaps and bounds above a lot of these other players. So Russell, Pollard, and Bravo for me, I think pick themselves certainly going forward. I think it would be hard to find players in this group that can outweigh them in terms of their impact, match-winning ability, or statistics throughout this format. As Lance has said, you have some players who are very attractive to the pocket, but haven't necessarily delivered in terms of production. And for me, it's all about production and not necessarily the price tag. And the body of work, as Lance has said as well. So those 3 for me up front. My 4th player would be Shahid Afridi, certainly, definitely a huge impact player. What he's done with the ball and otherwise, he has the ability to win matches even with the bat. Even though at the back end of his career, it didn't happen as many times as they would have liked. So Shahid Afridi is number 4 for me. Shane Watson certainly makes it into the second day of reckoning. Over 200 T20 wickets, 6 centuries and over 50 half centuries. Player of the tournament 1 or 2 times in the IPL. So he's a big game player, Shane Watson. And number 6 is it's a rough one for me. And I'm not really sure where to go with it, but I think I agree with David as well that, Yuvraj Singh at his best, I think is one of those players that you can never switch off the TV on. He was excellent in the field, brilliant with the bat, and could play those game-changing innings. And then would come up with his left-arm orthodox and be quite handy as well. So I'm going to give him the nod over maybe the former West Indies captain Darren Sammy. Going forward into this round of 6. So that's number 6 for me.
All right, Chris. So we have his 6, Vernon Springer. I move across to you now. Are you going to stay like Chris and, of course, work along production? Who will be your 6?
Well, I'll start from the bottom up. And so my sixth man will be Colin Munro. My fifth man will be Shai Afridi. Number 4 will be Shane Watson. Number 3 will be Andrew Russell. Number 2 will be Karen Pollard. And number 1 will be DJ Bravo. That's my 6.
All right, quick. David, who's your 6?
Okay, Andre Russell, Kyron Pollard, number 2, Shane Watson, number 3, Yuvraj Singh, number 4, Ben Stokes, number 5, and given a choice between Boom Boom Afridi and the case that's been made for DJ Bravo, I've listened carefully to the gentlemen, my esteemed colleagues. DJ Bravo gets in for me.
Definitely. That's actually very pleasing for me. So Lance and George, I want to bring you into the discussion. DJ Bravo, does he get in for both of you?
DJ Bravo has always been one of my favorite cricketers, no matter what the format of the game is, because remember, he did play Test cricket at some point. He's just effervescent. He's so athletic. He's such a dynamic player on the field. I think DJ Bravo is a compelling entry in this list, and I like DJ Bravo a lot as a white ball cricketer for sure.
George?
DJ Bravo is like the filament in the original light bulb.
Especially for
Say no
T20
more.
cricket,
Oh, yeah.
right?
He was born for that. Malinga was born to play T20 cricket. So too was Dwayne John Bravo, for sure.
A serious case was being made for Ben Stokes and, of course, opposition for Ben Stokes. George, your take on that?
Top cricketer. Cricket is cricket. Ben Stokes is any kind of cricket. Ben Stokes would excel it because he is so good. So I hear the argument that perhaps his career isn't old enough, long enough. He doesn't have the CV or the weight of CV in T20 cricket to enter this discussion. That's a fair argument, but David does extol his virtues by just one sentence. Ben Stokes. Just doesn't mention it. Ben Stokes is Ben Stokes. He's large.
Definitely. Well, Lance, I heard your views on Ben Stokes, but I want to move to ask you about Russell and Polly, of course. Chris made a comment that Russell, Polly and Bravo, they walk into a T20 team. What do you say?
Well, Russell for sure, even more than Kyron Pollard. Russell has won almost every T20 global franchise league in the world. Well, his teams have, and he has played a tremendous role in pretty much all of the successes of his teams. I think he's the most sought after T20 international cricketer, Andre Russell, and he can be a match winner with a ball, without question a match winner with a bat. His fielding is tremendous. Andre Russell for me is the first pick for the impact player of the three that we're going to decide on.
Well, I have my sword and we're ready to cut. Darren Sammy is gone. First player to be cut from the impact players list. Then Joss Bottler. He follows Darren Sammy, of course. Imad Wasim gets the cut from the second group. Colin Munro, he follows Wasim. And of course, Ben Stokes, the man that caused a lot of discussion here on our Ultimate T20. Easy cut, easy cut. Well, George and Lance, we heard from the panelists, of course. Anything y'all would have done differently, quickly, before we wrap?
Well, just to confirm, the three panelists that we had on today,
Yeah.
Producer Ricardo, would those be the only three that selected the 6, or would the opinions of the others for today? So it wouldn't have been surprising, because 2 of the 3 didn't like Ben Stokes for this position.
Correct.
So we have to accept it. Let's see what the zone team will do when we pick our 3.
All right, well, another week of Ultimate T20 discussions has come to an end. We are one show away from being able to reveal our Ultimate T20 team here on the Home of Champions. Thanks to David Brooke, Chris Taylor, and of course, Vernon Springer. We also want to take this time to say condolences to Zahiru Clark, who lost his extended grandmother yesterday, but was still able to be a part of our show. So we are down to 6 in the Impact Players category. And so for now, they can dance and celebrate and hope to be in the final squad when we reveal on Monday. You take care and bye for now.